Hello, I'm Bill Perkins, and this is my organizational communication discussion from chapters 3 and 4. So let's get right into it. We are tasked with discussing two theories from each chapter that we like and one that we hate or find confusing. Then we have to use one of the theories from chapter 3 or 4 to look at the case study from last week and talk about how that theory helps us to better understand some aspect, any aspect, of the case. To begin in chapter 3, the two theories I liked are first, the classical perspective that says that organizations are like machines and each employee is a part of that machine. It's an interesting perspective that highlights how humanity has a bad habit of seeing its fellow humans as simply a tool to use. Not only does this theory employ time and motion studies to improve a worker's output by denying his individuality and restricting him to set patterns of action that must always be done exactly the same way, it also separates management from the labor of the worker. The managers do the thinking, and communication is supposed to be clear and candid with no input from the worker, as they only need to know how management wants the job done. Part of this is the idea that workers are basically lazy and have no real connection to the organization beyond the labor they provide and the wage that is paid. This causes a negative view of the worker and their motivation and says they will work at a slow, easy gait called natural soldiering, or will use systemic soldiering, where they decrease the amount of work done based on input from other workers. So if the worker thinks that doing more work in the time allotted will not result in more pay, they will slow down, or they will demonstrate that the job takes more time in order to get more pay than if they had just worked faster and harder. The reason I like this theory is because I see it a lot today, especially in organizations or parts of organizations that focus on manufacturing or any task-related employment that can be narrowed down to patterns of movement, such as the fast food industry. The second theory I like is the human resources theory that states that every worker comes into an organization with a variety of resources that management can tap into if they try. These resources include not only physical skills and energy, but also creative ability and the capacity for responsible, self-direct, self-controlled behavior. I like this theory. It sees people as valuable resources rather than simply as a cog to be put in a machine. It encourages constant bidirectional communication and participation in decision-making by both management and staff. It allows for more self-direction and control and encourages workers to use their creativity, experience, and insight in ways that empower the organization. This theory encourages communication that is transactional between management and workers. It encourages teamwork and sharing information across all departments. I think it also allows for the most innovation and probably also creates a more equitable work culture. The theory I hate or dislike is Henry Fayol's interpretation of the bureaucratic theory, simply because it subordinates the worker's own individual interests in favor of the organization's. It allows only for a single direction of authority, usually top-down, with little or no input from those lower in the hierarchy. Authority or power is limited to only a select few, and the workers taught not to question that authority. This results in workers who can only act one way no matter what the situation or how it changes. It creates a very limited thought process in the worker. All matters related to planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and controlling belong to the managers with authority. While the classical perspective may see the worker as a cog in a machine that can be taught the most favorable pattern of action in order to accomplish a task and increase output, Fayol's bureaucracy sees the worker as a robot that needs to be controlled and programmed to put the organization's welfare, needs, and wants above all other consideration. The first ignores your individuality. The second demands you give it up. In chapter 4, the first theory I like is the interpretive theory that holds that an organization's structure exists subjectively and is constantly created and recreated. I like this theory as it sees the organization through the members' perceptions and that the members' communication creates and maintains the organization. Therefore, sees members as active participants in the structure and culture of an organization, even if they do not realize it themselves. The interpretive researcher directly observes the organization and sees their role as describing the status quo, not changing it. But they do help to identify the unspoken assumptions and behaviors that allow inhumane practices to become part of an organization. The second theory I like is the postmodern theory that holds that structure is subjective and that further is constantly in flux because members bring their own perceptions and reality from competing social forces into the organization. This means that organizations are created and shaped by the temporary combination of interests of its members, and that it tries to remain fixed, but is constantly having to react to the outside changes in cultural beliefs and ethics as time progresses. Those who are in the majority or dominant force in the organization seek to maintain power by ensuring that the current structure is perceived under its own terms and made to seem natural. Communication is seen as a contest between those in power and those that are marginalized in the organization, which is caused by a reflection of the members' own perceptions, cultures, belief, and ethics. The theory I hate is the postpositive theory that holds an organization's structure, although originally created by its members, literally takes on a life of its own and over time becomes objectively real. This idea relegates the people in an organization to nothing more than drones that serve the organization. Because the organization is objectively real, the belief, thoughts, ethics, etc. of an individual member do not matter. The needs of the organization always come first. It says that all actions by members will, over the long term, be those that get the best organizational results without any real influence from the member themselves. The needs of the organization will shape the members' actions, and communication that is accurate and precise is the most effective at contributing to the bottom line. Therefore, an organization has an independent reality. Its imperatives to survive, to get the best result, drive what people do, rather than vice versa. In looking at last week's case study about the drug company Merck and its product Vioxx, I think that out of the theories I have discussed, Henry Fayol's interpretation of the bureaucratic theory from Chapter 3 explains how the Vioxx disaster occurred. There was an obvious top-down authority with no question from those below about whether the actions they were being told to perform were legal or even ethical. Those below had given up their own beliefs and ethics in favor of the organizations. Memos and directives did not ask for observation or input. They simply told the drug reps, marketing professionals, and researchers what to say in support of the decisions made at the top to foster a lie in order to generate more profit. The danger of these types of organizations is that frequently they foster an illusion of ethical action that best supports society, but in reality the only ethic is that which serves the desire of those at the top of the organization and perpetuates the organization's structure. I suppose you could also say that the postpositive theory of organization also applies, as the members' actions served the needs of the organization first, and the decisions and actions were framed by the narrative of what was best for the organization. That it was the organization itself that fostered these lies as the best possible action in order to protect itself. I've got two problems with this, and with the whole theory. First, it removes culpability from the individuals who lied and those who told them to lie. Second, it relegates humans to being beneficial parasites that engage in tasks that benefit the host, the organization, in return for something beneficial, salary. I don't like that whole theory. Anyway, so that was my discussion on chapters 3 and 4. I hope you found it informative, and I can't wait to do another one next week. You all have a great night.